Okay, part 2, picking back up. All right, on page 2, leasehold interest. All right, so we've talked about how you own property, but obviously you don't have to just own property to occupy it or live there. You can also lease it, otherwise known as renting. So, leasehold interest. Obviously, when you lease something, you don't have ownership rights to it. But what kind of rights do you have? So, a leasehold estate, that is the temporary nature of possession under a lease, is what distinguishes a tenant from a purchaser who acquires title to the property. Okay, so with a leasehold interest, it's temporary possession. So you're a tenant, not a purchaser, because a purchaser acquires title to the property. So when you lease property, you never acquire title to it. Instead, you just have the right to possess it for a temporary period of time. Okay, moving on, sentence number 2. A leasehold estate is an interest in real property that gives a tenant a qualified right to possess and or use the property for a limited time under a lease. Okay, so it gives the tenant a qualified right to possess or use the property for a limited time under a lease. We've probably all signed leases before. I know I've been under several all through school. And so there's 4 different kinds that we're going to talk about. All right, number 1 is probably the most common. It's probably if you are renting currently or have rented before, this is probably the type of lease that you had. It's a fixed term tenancy. What that is a type of tenancy under which property is leased for a specified period of time, such as a month, a year, a number of years. It is a lease that says, I agree to lease this property, and you agree to lease this property to me from January 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2020. So that's a year. It's a specified period of time, 6 months, a year, 5 years, however long. So that is a fixed term tenancy because we know from the lease agreement itself how long you have the right to possess that property. Okay, number 2, a periodic tenancy. A periodic tenancy. That is a lease interest for an indefinite period involving payment of rent at fixed intervals, such as week to week, month to month, year to year. Okay, so it's an indefinite period involving payment of rent at fixed intervals. So what that means is I'm not leasing the property to you for a period of 5 years, but instead I want to do it month to month, and then I can get out at any time. So I will pay you a fixed rent amount at the beginning of every month.